His friends call him Jay, and he enjoys eating a lot of pizza. He goes out with women, and he never calls them back. But if they're lucky, he'll show them his crank and give it a big yank until it's out their nose. My friends call me Danny. I'm already engaged to a woman. But before I dated her, I'd fuck anything that moved. So if you had two tits, a hole in a heartbeat, you could spend a night with me, but I'd never call again. Dun, dun, don't you see? Dun, 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 that Jay has performed a cream pie. And you know that I would not lie, but Jay hopes you ain't pregnant. Dun, dun, don't you see? Dun, 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 dun. Jay has already deleted your number, and hell no, he won't respond back. So give up and don't call again.
That was really, really good. Makes me sound like a bit of a monster. I liked how you were singing about yourself too. That was good. Yeah, it does. But
It
you
makes
know what?
me sound like a bit of a monster.
Yeah, but that was a good song, man. I really enjoyed that.
Of course, I don't know if a lot of you guys who are listening to this know, but that's Don't You See from Dragon Ball GT ending number 2. So if you haven't heard that song, check it out. There is an English version and a Japanese version. Both are good. Of course, the Japanese one's a little bit better because it's the original song from the band Zard, but this is the Super JAYAIN version. So yeah, I'm glad you liked it, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the effort you put in. One of
Always.
your better songs.
All right, I appreciate that. So, all right, welcome to Talk Dragon Ball. I'm Emperor Big D. This is Super JAYAIN here. Geekdom 101 is the channel. Also, check out Super JAYAIN. Also, if you guys are going to do a search for Super JAYAIN, it's not Super JAYEN. It's Super JAYAIN. Just remember that it's AIN. So, I will
The way you would spell cyan, basically, with a J on the front of it.
Well, actually, that's not how you would spell Saiyan because Saiyan is SAIYAN, which is what I put in the original video we did.
Oh, that's right, you did, didn't you? So yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Don't even know how to spell my own name, folks. That's how good I am.
Remember, I asked you how you wanted to spell it, and you go, "No, I want the I at the end." That's what you said.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah.
And by the way, if you do look up Super JAYAIN into the YouTube search, your channel comes up first, and second comes up the parody song that I did about it. So one of them, anyways. So and then there's a video for QAAMAN on QAAMAN's channel, but who cares really? No, I'm kidding. No, it was a video we did a long time ago with him, about a month ago. Anyways, let's talk about Dragon Ball. So the topic this week is what would we change about Dragon Ball? And we're talking about all of Dragon Ball, not just the manga, the anime. Dragon Ball is far from a perfect series, and I'm not going to get into too much fan fiction, even though, Jay, feel free to give us all your ideas, but I would like to know kind of what you would change about Dragon Ball. What about Dragon Ball has always kind of bothered you, and what would you change? And we can go back and forth and give different ideas and whatnot. So what's the first thing that comes to mind if somebody said, take a time machine, go back to Toriyama, and have him change this?
Oh, there's some very interesting points in the series, and you always kind of wonder, what if the show took that direction and this happened instead of the main timeline events happening? There's so many that come to mind.
That Tosspot QAAMAN has a whole bunch of videos about it.
But I'll try not to make too many Vegeta-centric ones that are based on Vegeta.
You do what you want, bro. You're laughing a lot today, bro.
Yeah, that's because I had a subscriber on my channel call me the biggest Vegeta fanboy yesterday.
And
so,
they're right. And then what'd you tell me? I'm a fan, not a fanboy.
That's right. I'm a fan, not a fanboy. I can accept Goku as stronger. But
fan man.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Vegeta. I know a lot about his personal life, that's all.
Yeah, it's true.
If I could change anything, maybe some things that come to mind creative-wise is I wouldn't make Goku Goten and Trunks, just spitballing as I always say, wouldn't make Goten and Trunks a Super Saiyan, because that kind of, in my opinion, ruined the whole struggle behind unlocking Super Saiyan.
Really, that's a very good one, dude. So you're telling me you would have them earn it later, or you would just have them never earn it at all?
Either never earn it at all, because when you think about it, they really don't have a big impact on the story, even in the Bull arc, apart from the fusion. They could have erased the fusion arc and just gone with something else.
Or maybe when they fuse, they could have unlocked SSJ since they got HSA 3 anyways, right?
Yeah, exactly. I just think that the Goten and Trunks earned, and I'm sure Mike over at Laughingstock Media will agree with me, they kind of ruined the whole mystique behind how hard it is to unlock the Super Saiyan transformation. It just made it seem like anyone who was a Saiyan could do it.
Well, didn't Vegeta say that it was like a bargain sale or something?
Yeah, and I've always partly blamed Goten and Trunks becoming Super Saiyan so easily for all these what-if scenarios you see in video games these days of like Super Saiyan Bardock, Super Saiyan Broly, Super Saiyan 3 Broly. I partially blame them for that just because they think, oh, well, kids can do it. They can all learn.
But the real criminals are the fans, right?
Yeah. But that's one thing I'd change.
I agree with you on that, actually.
Yeah, if you go back to Dragon Ball, there's probably a couple of things I'd change. I probably would have had Goku lose the Tenkaichi Budokai to Piccolo, but that's just...
He goes 0-3 in the finals.
Yep. That's just something I always would have liked to see, is Goku not win the Tenkaichi Budokai till maybe right at the end of Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball, like...
So you would have had it so that he wins the very last one at the end of Z. That's pretty cool. All right.
Yeah. And that's the biggest, like the rest are all very Vegeta-centric ones. Spoilers if you guys haven't seen Resurrection of F, but I'll give you guys a chance.
You're going to give a big one here in a minute.
Big one, yeah. So I hope no one hates me for this, but I'd change Vegeta killing Freeza and keep it that way rather than Whis reversing time and giving it to Goku. But that's just some little things. What about yourself? What would you change?
Well, the first thing I would change is I would probably, okay, that's a tough one. I would probably have, a lot of people might criticize me for this, but ideally the story probably should have ended at the Cell arc. That's one thing I would have probably done, but again, it just totally depends. Also, in addition to that, I'd probably change one thing. I would definitely change that just popped in my head. I would change the portrayal of Dragon Ball in this country. I would have kind of taken a time machine and allowed like manga entertainment to do Dragon Ball, because I feel like if you took Dragon Ball, you kept the I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, but this is honestly how I feel. If you keep the original Kikuchi score, you keep Dragon Ball the same, you have better voices, and you put it on prime time. I'm talking about like a prime time slot in the evening time, not just after school. I think Dragon Ball would have been even bigger. Like, honestly, I know people want to agree with me on this one. I know and if you don't, that's fine. I think that Dragon Ball in this country is big, but it could have been even bigger if it was treated with respect. And if it was also like a weekly show instead of a daily show, they could have stretched this thing out for years and have it run for years.
Yeah. And another thing I will say that I will, and I agree with everything you've just said, another thing I would change, and cue the haters and the fans of the US dub, I would erase the Bruce Faulconer soundtrack from history.
Oh, you're asking for it now.
Never be a part of the show, because, yeah, whilst he does have a couple of good tracks here and there, his soundtrack completely misses the point of the show, and I don't think it's all his fault.
No, it's not his fault at all. Yeah, a lot of it's
not all his fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of it has a lot to do with, as we've spoken about off air before, Barry Watson and just what they wanted done at Funimation Studios at the time. But I would erase the Faulconer soundtrack from history in terms of the show. I just don't think it adds anything to the show, and it completely misses the point with when you're supposed to have silence cues or emotional moments, and you've just got music constantly playing. It just completely wrecks the moment, in my opinion. So that's another thing I'd probably change. I'd make it so they just kept the Kikuchi score for the American dub as well. But yeah, that's probably the biggest one for me, actually, even bigger than actually changing stuff in the show itself. When you go to the cultural side of things and you bring Dragon Ball to the US, they really did miss the train a little bit on that back in the 90s. They could have made it primetime, like you said, and it could have been a lot bigger than it is now. And you've covered it before in the past. they really, really did treat the Western culture like. And this is not Toei's fault. This is Funimation's fault.
And this is not Funimation now. This is
Yeah,
Funimation back then. The different company
yeah.
now.
They treated all the kids and all the people who are getting into it like a bunch of retards who wouldn't like Bruce Faulkner's wouldn't like it without Bruce Faulkner's music.
Well,
And
a lot of them
you know,
are, bro. I mean, really.
yeah,
But
yeah, and people who say stupid stuff today, like the show would fail without Bruce Faulkner's music, or Super's not going to be good without Faulkner's music. That's so annoying.
Which is hilarious because it's pretty much been a success everywhere in the world without Bruce Faulkner's music. So no,
Yeah,
the music. I mean, I understand liking his music. It's just that's not to me a key factor as to why the show was a success. You know?
yeah, yeah. Here's the thing. I think Yamamoto's score is even though it's plagiarized somewhat, Yamamoto's score it's way better than Faulkner's score.
Yeah,
So,
and that's up for debate as well. Now another one for me, and I want to get your thoughts on this one that I would change about Dragon Ball. One of the things that always bothered me about Dragon Ball, and you and I have never talked about this, I don't like the way that the Kid Buu or the Buu saga ended. I didn't like the fact that there's two things I don't like. Number one, they put the focus back on Goku, and I know that's another topic for debate that some people might not agree with me, some people might, but you could tell at the end of the series Toriyama was having trouble finishing it, and he basically simultaneously pushed the idea that Gotenks was going to kill Buu while Gohan was like the backdrop character, and then of course there's Mystic / Ultimate Gohan that came in, and then he kicks Buu's ass. To me, though, I think that any of those two endings would have probably been a little tiny bit better, even though I love Goku versus Buu, like Goku versus Kid Buu. I really think that it's a little bit anticlimactic that they have to fight like a weaker version than Ultimate Buu. Like I just kind of not really, And then the other thing that really bugged me, and this is I think a big mistake in Dragon Ball, is right before the Kid Buu part of the saga, when you see like when the Buu's about to blow up the Earth and Goku instead saves Dende and Mr. Satan on accident and allows Goten, Trunks, and Gohan to die and Piccolo to die. That always bugged me, and especially since Goku, like, his attitude and his demeanor was almost like he didn't care. I didn't like that. Like, they're both just kind of freaking out about their sons, their infant sons, their children dying, but they're not really selling it, and that's a big thing to me. That always bugged me about that scene, in both in the manga and in the anime.
Yeah, the fact that they want to fight straight away, and they're smiling when Kid Buu gets to the planet of the Kais, they're smiling straight away and they're ready for battle. It completely takes the emotional impact out of that scene.
It's just that bugged me so much. Like, I know a lot of fans. I know I'm not the only one. I know a lot of fans out there who were bugged by that. Leave a comment below if you agree with me, and if you don't, just let me know also. But and one thing, you're right, I didn't like how they broke the Potara and whatnot. I mean, also, I think it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if instead of Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Piccolo dying, if they all survived. Then it became this big battle royale where it's Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks against Kid Buu. Now, obviously, before anybody says it, obviously Mystic, Gohan, and all these guys together would have probably kicked Kid Buu's ass. But in this fairy tale story, Kid Buu would be a lot stronger. I don't like the fact that Kid Buu is quote unquote weaker, even though that's also up for debate. You know what I mean? That's been a debate for years and years.
I think that I would change also the fact that there's some very, very lazy editing and the animation side for the Buu arc.
Yeah, just before you keep on, I would definitely change the whole thing with the animation teams being split, because even though it was very difficult to adapt the series back then, he had to do it. It really does look jarring.
Yeah, and not just the jarring side of things. Just it would end so many of these stupid fan debates you have of going, just. And I'll go down to the core of even the storytelling for the Buu arc. The storytelling for the Buu arc compared to previous was just all over the place, and you'll agree with me on that.
It was messy.
Things like just clarifying whether or not Vegeta was in fact a Super Saiyan 2 before his fight with Goku, or did Babadi's charm allow him to become Super Saiyan 2? A simple statement could have fixed that rather than the fans trying to fix it. Other things like, was Gohan a Super Saiyan 2 against Abora? Why didn't they just put lightning in? Simple stuff like that. I wish those little things they just went in and cleaned up, because it wouldn't have taken that long for them to do. And it really, really just creates arguments that are really unnecessary to the show. And I just feel some of that stuff could have been handled a little bit better. And I would have been happy if the show ended with Gotenks or Gohan defeating Majin Buu, but at the same time, I did really enjoy Vegeta and Goku working together to beat Buu. Like Goku was the brawn and Vegeta was kind of the brains of the organization.
Which
And
is funny because you would think the other way around, but
yeah,
no,
you think
that's not the
yeah.
case.
Yeah, and it was always a real, sign of camaraderie for me at the end of the fight, how they're like giving each other the thumbs up and they're laughing, and then it's a real touching moment when they go back to the lookout and they all see their families again. So that part I do like, but
Agreed.
yeah, I would have also been happy if they did end it with Vegeta sacrificing himself. That would have been harder. They would have had to work a little bit. They would have had to work around that a little bit and make the story go past that point in the series, because it would have made no sense whatsoever if Vegeta sacrifices himself and then that's the end of the series. So they would have had to work. And a lot of people say that right there should be the end of the series, but it really would be very jarring. It wouldn't make much sense. So
it's weird not having the good guys kind of get the big win, is what you're saying. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I'd probably be happy with them ending the series with, Gotenks or Gohan getting the win. But at the same time, probably not so much Gotenks, because like I've said earlier, I feel that although I do like Goten and Trunks, I feel that they're very, very overpowered as characters because they are just children. So yeah, but that's my thoughts on that part.
Another one I want to throw in there too that I feel that I would change about Dragon Ball is I would absolutely change the fact that, like, I would try to make the movies canon, and what I mean by that is, and I hate using that word because that's like the most dangerous word in the Dragon Ball community right now is canon. But if I were in charge, I would go back and I would try to make the movies somehow fit. And if you can't make the movie fit, just don't make the movie. And I know it's a whole thing about money, but like, movies like The World's Strongest and, the Lord Slug movie, they just can't fit. There's just no way they can fit in the timeline whatsoever. In fact, most of the movies, with the exception of, I would say, 2 of the movies, not including the Battle of Gods film and Fakata no F, I would absolutely change those. Like, I would definitely try to make them fit somehow. You know what I mean? Yeah. And another thing I would probably do is probably eliminate Broly. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But I would eliminate the last 2 Broly movies, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, they were pretty rubbish. And then you've got all those fans arguing, oh, was Gohan a Super Saiyan 2 against Broly in the second movie? And the answer is yes, he had to be. So.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
And Broly got a Zenkai boost in between movies 1 and 2. I mean, that's definitely for sure. You made a video about it.
Exactly, yeah. So I just... Yeah, I agree with you. They shouldn't make movies that contradict the series or make no sense or don't fit into the timeline at all, because it just creates.
Try to get it to fit, right?
Yeah, because some people aren't too bright, and you don't want to confuse them even more by doing what they've done in the past. So, and it's a shame too, because I feel like they're doing it all over again with Super now. They're creating the exact same problem they did with the movies in some regard.
Except it's backwards. Very weird. Yeah. Some other stuff I would change too also is I would probably change the filler, in that, I mean, I don't know if, again, it's difficult to really say because it's all a situation about, like, it's a fantasy world, but I'd probably cut down on some of the filler. Not all of it, I like some of the filler, but the fake Namek arc is pointless. Garlic Jr. Saga is should have been shortened. If you're going to do Garlic Jr. Saga, it should be 5 episodes, not 10. And of course, the biggest change that I would make when it comes to the filler, and if you know me, you know what I'm about to say right now, that scene where Paikuhan takes out Cell with one blow is gone. Like, in my head, that's probably the only scene in Dragon Ball I would erase completely, bro. 77 episodes building up Cell as the main villain. He gets job done in 1 hit. It's really bad. Like, or at least have some kind of explanation that Cell's body was weak from the Gohan blast, or, his spirit was weak or something, because I just never liked that, bro. I never liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like any of the scenes that basically have villains in hell. I'll go as far as to say that.
Especially in Kai, right? That's the one that really bugs you.
Oh man, it's a complete, and that's the other thing I change. A complete contradiction of the statements that if you're evil, you don't get to keep your body. Goku was a special case. He got to keep his body, and Goku's friends as well. They got to keep their bodies because they were pure, they were good, and they only ever tried to help people. Obviously, Ten Shinhan came from a different background, but he I guess you could say in a religious term, he repented. He became good, and the fact that villains like Freeza and Cell get to keep their bodies makes absolutely no sense, and that's probably the biggest glaring plot hole to me in the entire series.
Yeah, another thing too I would do is I would probably give some of those B characters some more time. I would probably give them more. you know, instead of making it the Goten and Trunks show, which is what they did in the Buu saga, and I like Goten and Trunks, but I mean, I would probably give your Tiens and your Piccolos a little bit more action because they kind of got left in the dust.
Yeah, and except for Chiaotzu, obviously. Don't give Chiaotzu any more
No,
screen
I don't
time.
care about him. But the Pokemon. But I would definitely make some more. Another thing I would do also, I'm gonna get your thoughts on this before we get out of here, is I would also make some more side stories. I would do stories about Jocko. I'd do an entire prequel movie series about like what happened, like how did Frieza come into power, how did King Vegeta meet Frieza. That stuff is always very interesting to me, and I think to a lot of people as well. You know, maybe something with Bardock and Gine. There's a lot of stuff. I'm just saying I would like to see that. You know, Jocko, a story about. I've said that so many times, bro.
Absolutely.
Needs to have his own show.
Yeah, well, I read the manga recently, and it was a fantastic book. Like, it really made me appreciate again what Toriyama's writing style is like, and art style.
He's still very funny.
It was very funny, yeah. One last thing I will change.
Yeah, I was actually going to hit you with one more, too, but you go first.
Tien would hook up with Launch or Lunch, and they would become a couple instead of fucking Chiaotzu and Tien being a couple.
Would he root her?
Yes, he would.
And that would create all kinds of nasty pictures on the internet, which are probably already there. The pictures are probably already there.
Probably already there.
His third eye and his fourth eye.
You're a funny man.
Yeah. No, the only other one I was thinking of, I kind of wish that they would, and we might still see this in Super. I wish they would have like real, like incredible intergalactic battles with like planets being blown up and supernovas being created. Like at this point, their level of power is so high that it almost needs to happen.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. You're right. We might see it in Super.
I have my doubts, but I think we might see it.
Yeah, the pace that Super's going at, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. Especially considering they've got to get past the Resurrection of F saga yet. So it's gonna be a while before we see anything new from Super. And
2016 maybe.
Yeah, to be honest with you, the only reason I am watching Super at the moment is A, because I'm a massive fan of the series, and B, because I can do my weekly reviews on it. But apart from that, I mean, I wish I could just watch it all at once, because it seems to me at this stage it's like one of those series where I really, really dislike having to wait for the next episode of nothing to happen. But that's just at this stage, folks. I'm not hating on Super, but yeah. I'm hoping we get to see some awesome... I hope for our wait and sitting through stuff we already know about the series, we get some epic battles in the next couple of arcs. I really hope we do.
I do too. By the time we get there, it'll be fucking 2016, it seems. I don't know. But all right, everybody, thanks again for watching, listening to Talk Dragon Ball, and check out Super JAYAIN, mate, or else you're a tosspot.
Yeah, that's right. JAYAIN is how you spell it, folks.
That's right. Some good stuff, some good product reviews coming to the man's channel, so it's worth checking out.
Yep, definitely.
All right.
Got some figurine reviews in the next couple of weeks for you guys.
Check it out, and we'll catch y'all down the road.